and Dr. Sterk coming to you. It is Friday afternoon now, about noon on October 6th, and we just wanted to pop on and kind of give you an update on the college process and some little tidbits of information that we thought might be helpful to you as you are probably in the midst of finalizing those college applications.
Yeah, we have had a lot of conversations, haven't we, recently about sort of the the fear of hitting the submit button. There's like the FOMO, like fear of missing out. It's like the fear of submitting.
It is. Yes, you are so right.
Yeah.
But once you do it once, it gets easier. But it is. It's like, have I done everything? Have I spelled every word correctly? Is the right information? Did I put the right major? I mean, it can be a little overwhelming. It's exciting, but a little
Right.
overwhelming at the same time.
Well, and I was telling you earlier, so I was out running today and it was early in the morning. It's dark because I live in Florida. So if you're going to run, it has to be like super early. And I'm running, I'm all excited. And all of a sudden I get smacked in the face with today. Like and it's like the canal water. So it's stinky water. It doesn't smell good. And so I'm running and I'm like, this feels like college applications sometimes when you think you're going good and you get smacked in the face, you don't know what you don't see in front of you. So right now I was actually just typing up an email to my families and the families we serve about some of the things to pay attention to in sort of this final stretch. So I thought this would be a great topic to sort of just talk about what sort of our key things. So Jessica, what do you think? Like, I know mine, but what are some of the things that like are the pitfalls of students miss in this process?
Well, I will say it's kind of a common mistake where students might try to kind of make the application process a little easier by wanting to personalize an essay to go to more than one school, but then accidentally forget that they've personalized it and hit send. So if you're trying to apply to Wofford and it's actually going to Clemson, that is one of the bigger mistakes. So really taking the time to kind of review everything, make sure that you don't have any mistakes, any spelling errors, you've reported everything correctly on there. And the biggest one too is paying attention to what type of application you are selecting to apply for, right? So right now, there's a lot of different types of applications open. So different deadlines, some require different things to be submitted. So making sure that you understand if you're doing early decision or is it early action or regular decision or rolling admissions. So just really specifying and making a checklist of deadlines, dates. I mean, I know we have a few colleges coming up next week is the first deadline date already. So
Yeah,
getting
October
on that.
15th.
Mhm.
That's early, and it's so early. And students are still testing. Like I have quite
Mhm.
a few students that are heading into that October 7th. So then it sort of begs the question, well, what if I submit? Can I resubmit scores? Which every school is a little bit different, right? Some are
Yep.
like, yes, go ahead. We'll take them up until December. Send us your new scores. And others are like, your application's your application. So when do you want to submit? So it's really, you need to be really careful, especially with how sensitive test scores are right now.
Mhm.
If you are going to submit, what does that look like? Like I was talking to one of my students earlier today, and he's got a test in the school, but it's not until the end of October. And I'm like, have you done any prep for it? Have you been working towards it? And he hasn't. He's just kind of taking it because they're offering it. And I'm like, it's better to get into the priority for the schools he has
Mhm.
because really he hasn't done anything different. So his score's not really going to change at that point. So it's like, okay, so that November 1st is more important than waiting until the December or January when you have less seats available.
Exactly. Yes. So kind of what you said too is you're doing so many things now, but also keep the bigger picture in mind too for your goals of what that looks like.
And
And
I think you do too, but I have a lot of students that are mixing and matching of
mhm, mhm.
sending test scores or going test optional. Maybe they're right in that like 1250 to 1350, which is strong for some of the schools they're applying to and right there. And others, they're not even they're not even close to the Princetons of the world. And so just be really careful that, in your main Common App, you have the testing section. And so you might need to do two separate admissions. One, remove those test scores and then submit. And then for other ones, make sure those scores are in the testing and then submit as well.
Yes, so it can get a little cumbersome and or confusing at this stage too. I mean, you have the school, you have your major, you have all of the things, but making sure again that hitting that submit button, you are like dialed in on all the different documents and the documents too, right? So let's not forget after you hit submit, you still have to make sure the school has a full admissions file, and that typically will they'll want more things, right? So letters of recommendation can come after you hit submit, your transcript from the school, and then any test scores, again, if you are sending them, making sure they're sent directly from College Board or ACT. So not completely done yet, and I know your letter to parents even has more information after you hit submit.
Yeah, and there's even, and I'm seeing more and more students, because of like the SAR, that self-reported
Mm-hmm.
academic history that a lot of schools do require, and I'm in Florida, and like pretty much every Florida school requires it. But there's a lot of other ones, like Penn State requires it, and
Mm-hmm.
UNC Chapel Hill requires it too.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few, so you want to make sure that that part is accurate, because I do see a lot of students misrepresent, or they don't double the credits the way that they're supposed to, and that's the GPA that those colleges are using. And so it's really important that you know how to connect that SAR or SRAR. They're the
All
same
the acronyms.
alphabet now, but yeah. But you get this like long 20-digit code, and you have to like connect it with their portal. So a lot of times,
Mhm.
like you said, even though you submit the application, you now have to go into each college's portal, make sure they have every single piece of the documents that they require,
Mhm.
and then make sure. So it's not over even after you press submit, for sure.
No, no, it's not. It's that process, and making sure that you, number one thing too, Amanda, is check your email. Sometimes students, I've had students in the past, aren't so like consistent with checking email, and unfortunately they miss information, important information from the college saying, hey, we're missing this document. And if they don't have it in by the deadline, they might overlook your application. So checking email regularly is really important too, to be consistent with that.
And I know several of my students are applying for some of the honors programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Mm-hmm.
them, you check, yes, I'm interested in honors. And if you match their criteria, they'll send you a link to fill out their application. Sometimes it's a completely separate application, and it's on you to go in and to make sure you do that. So there's just like you were saying, checking your email, checking those portals is just really critical. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I've seen students miss scholarship opportunities, like
Yeah,
news and different things, or honors programs, because they just get so behind. They don't realize that they needed to do an extra step after that.
exactly. And going a little further, I've had students who, when they get their acceptance letter, if it's emailed and they have, let's say, 48 hours to some of these competitive programs to put a deposit down and they don't respond, they'll move on to the next person. So, just a really good habit, really, to get into doing right now going forward. So, I know, hitting the submit button. It's awesome. It's exciting, but the journey continues, right? Until you get that acceptance letter and you make your decision and put your deposit down. So yeah.
Well, and even I'll give you an example. Obviously here in Florida, and I know South Carolina too has your state scholarships.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
another application process, and I've had students miss it. And this was back when I was, at a school, and it's like, we can tell them again and again what they need to complete. And I had a student completely miss a full Bright Futures
Oh
because they
my.
never completed the application. And so it's one of those things like, you really just have to, dot your I's, cross your T's, and just make sure that nothing is missing. So this is a time to use a spreadsheet to really keep notes about when you contacted the school, what you did, and making sure that everybody's on the same page for
Mhm.
sure.
And visit your school counselor often. Stay in touch with them. It's very a key piece of this too, right? So we partner with you, we partner with the families, we partner with the schools just to give that extra support. But they are still responsible for a lot of sending the documents. And so, like you said, a lot of schools have different programs and different platforms for how they send out those required documents for admissions applications. So just making
And
sure that you're in the know on that as well.
sometimes it's the college's fault, and sometimes it's the counselor's fault. I have been on the receiving end of parents being really upset. We had a college a few years ago, big university, that just was notorious for not connecting transcripts with kids' account. And I'm like, I sent it 5 times. I swear I have sent this document 5 times. And it was just, you had to call the college, and it was on their own processes. So do give a little bit of time, just like sending test scores. If you're sending them from College Board, it can take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to get there. So a lot of times they will admit students on sort of those preliminary, kind of the self-report scores. And so, but some go off of official, and that takes a little while to get there. So again, I would suggest do it now if
Mhm.
you aren't worried about your test score coming out, but get that stuff in. But you do give it time, because it does
It
take
does
time.
take time, yeah.
So
Good points, good reminders, and very
I
timely,
know.
Dr. Stark. Yes.
You as well. No, I know we're in the thick of things, but it's so exciting to see it get all polished and the kids get excited. And one of the other things I'm reminding the parents is decisions come out at all different times.
Mhm.
Some are already starting to get decisions because they've already submitted to a few of the schools that didn't have as much of the letters of recommendation and those type of things. But and some will be not until March, and some release as they go and some release all at the same time. So really paying attention to when that's going to come out and what you need to do. But do note, if you are admitted early, you will start kind of seeing that push to like put in your deposit. You technically don't have to do it until May 1st, but if it's your school and that's where you want to go ahead and be done with it.
Mhm.
So that's a family decision for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, no, it's super exciting time. And so, hey, I want to remind everybody, Dr. Ruzicka, you might want to mention this, October 17th.
Yes, we are having a webinar where we are going to be talking about some common mistakes that parents and families, unfortunately, might not know about when they're going into the college planning process. And so we're going to kind of be discussing some things not to do. And so we'll be giving out some more information about that. And so you can definitely check out our link to sign up for that webinar. And we already have a bunch of people signed up, so
Oh
that's
my
exciting.
goodness, it's going to be a good time. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we have some really cool things that we're going to
Oh,
be
yes,
sharing.
we do. Right. We're going to
So
announce some fun things.
we're
Yeah.
adding some things to the program. We're adding some different opportunities. So I think
Yeah.
families definitely do not want to miss
Hmm.
this webinar coming up.
Yeah.
So,
It's going to be
all
great.
right.
All
Well,
right. Well,
thanks so
everyone have
much
a
for
great
that.
weekend. Yeah.
All
Good
right.
to see you. Stay dry. Bye.
Yeah.